I think I'm the one that's supposed to be doing the introduction.
Yeah.
How are you, sir?
I'm magnificent as usual. It's very interesting here in Chennai. Yeah, very
I know
fascinating.
you're tired. You've had meetings all day.
Oh,
Chess Drum audience, this is Ian Wilkinson, former president of Jamaica. He has actually decided to join the Bachar Kouatly ticket as the deputy president. And so we're going to have him on for a few minutes. He told me that he has some other meetings going on. And so we just want to chat with Ian.
yes.
So far, how are things going there in Chennai? It's almost 8 o'clock there, I think.
Yeah, it's almost it. Chennai is fascinating. Firstly the temperature. It's even, if it's possible, it's even hotter than Jamaica. The temperature hovers between probably 90 and 100 degrees daily outside, because I came out of my hotel room, was walking on the streets earlier, just checking out the surroundings, and it was blistering hot. But I'm comfortable in the heat because, as you know, I'm from Jamaica. But Chennai is fascinating. The locals, the Indians, our hosts, they are so hospitable. I mean, where we go, we are well greeted on the streets. I have not had an unpleasant incident at all with any of the hosts. So it's been fascinating so far.
So the chess venue, I hear that they've done a real good job as far as putting everything together in such a short period of time. Are you pleased with everything so far that you've seen as far as the Olympiad?
Daim, I'm going to be frank with you. From what I've seen so far, I've been to the tournament hall every day except today's round, because the Congress started officially today with meetings. The Planning Development Commission, Fair Play Commission. I've been having meetings with a lot of delegates, a lot of teams. I've been courted left, right, and center. I feel like a virgin bride. I feel like a virgin bride. You may quote me on that one. You may quote me on that one. I feel like a virgin bride who has a family with a huge dowry, and everybody wants this dowry. The venue is very comfortable. There are two playing halls. One is bigger than the other. But from what I've seen, the players are comfortable. Players are allowed to have masks. Many of the officials have on masks. There are sanitizer bottles on every table, between every boards. I must say, from what I've seen so far, I give the Indian organizers A+ for effort, without any hesitation. Because I remember when I sat on the council and we made this decision a few months ago, India has had no more than, I think, approximately 4 months to do this. When you know that many countries who host the Olympia, they have like roughly 2 years, minimum 18 months. And to do what they have done, I've driven on a highway. My hotel is the Leela Palace, Chennai. And one of I don't know if it's even a criticism, because I wouldn't call it such, because it takes on average an hour to an hour and a half from my hotel to the playing venue. So if there's a negative, that is a negative for me. But it has not been a negative, because during those, I normally travel with my presidential candidate, Bachar Kouatly, and sometimes other delegates. And we talk a lot. So before you know it, the distance is eaten up and we are at our venue. And we have a really good driver, and we have a dedicated chauffeur.
So do they drive on the left-hand side or the right?
They drive on the left-hand side from what I've seen, but okay. It's crazy on the road.
Yeah, I think Indian traffic is legendary.
Listen, there are times we're driving, I swear we're going to hit something, but somehow the driver manages not to hit anything. So it's been good so far. But I give the All India Chess Federation, especially the head organizer, Bharat Singh, the secretary of I give them A+ for what I have seen so far, without a doubt.
Mm-hmm. So tell the audience something about Bachar Kouatly, and if you can, for those who don't know, well, they will find out from you. But he's of course a French grandmaster from Syria originally. But tell us something about him and about what he plans to do, his vision, and then also something about yourself.
I met Bachar Kouatly during the 2018 campaign in Batumi, Georgia. You might recall we had previously hosted the incumbent Russian president, Mr. Arkady Dvorkovich in Jamaica in the middle of the year, with a number of other countries, delegates attending, Antigua and Barbuda, Trinidad and Tobago, Haiti, Venezuela, just to name a few. And fast forward a few months later, when you fast forward, we met Grandmaster Kouatly. He became a Grandmaster in 1989. We have a number of parallels in which we joke about on our ticket. I became a lawyer in 1989. He was born in Syria, in Damascus. He grew up as a youngster in Lebanon, represented Lebanon World Juniors. And I think he represented Lebanon at one Olympiad as well. In 1989, when he became a Grandmaster, he was the first French Grandmaster in approximately 30 years. It was a significant accomplishment. And he was president of the French Chess Federation for 4+ years, 2016 into 20. He speaks several languages. I've had fun communicating with him in both Spanish and French and so on, because I can speak those languages as well. He speaks Arabic. His English is very, very, very good. And he has a smattering of other languages here and there, but he prefers to say he's fluent in the 4 I have mentioned. He even knows a little bit of Russian and so on. He's a very accomplished person. He's been on Wall Street. He's in investment banking, dealing with equities, trading, and so on. And he was the editor for Europe d'Echec, leading chess magazine, I understand, for Europe. And so he's highly qualified. And of course, he's the incumbent deputy president chosen by Mr. Dvorkovich. So he asked me to run with him. And it took me 3 weeks before I agreed, because I had absolutely no intention of running in these elections. I'm from Jamaica, but I've been living outside of Jamaica because I've been working I'm qualified to practice law in a number of different countries. 5, and if you count England, where we appear before the Privy Council, it would be 6. I not licensed to practice in England, but I can appear at the Privy Council Court, which is resident there as Jamaica's final court of appeal. So I've been living and working in, between the British Virgin Islands and the Turks and Caicos Islands, largely the Turks and Caicos Islands, since most of last year into this year. And I had no plans, but I started to look closely at FIDE after the invasion of Ukraine by Russia, because President Dvorkovich is not an ordinary Russian citizen. He was, for some time, the advisor to Vladimir Putin, the president. He was deputy prime minister for approximately 6 years, between 2012 and 2018, and he was the head of the organizing committee for the World Cup football. He's a well-established Russian, and I wondered how it was going to affect FIDE, because I have a lot of affection for chess. I have spent most of the last 20 years working inside FIDE. I was eight-time president and eight-time, depending on your preference, president of the Jamaica Chess Federation between 2003 and 2019. I am 2-time national veteran champion between 2015 and 2016, upsetting a number of favored persons in the process. And as a result, I represented Jamaica at 3 World Senior Championships, at Aquiterme in Italy in 2015, Mariánska Lázna in 2019 in the Czech Republic, and Bucharest in Romania in 2019. I've been many times Journalist of the Year. I've been the only person to have been awarded Chess Analyst of the Year in Jamaica. I've won it probably 12, 13, 14 straight times. I've lost count. But my passion is helping Jamaicans to develop to what I call building a nation of thinkers, helping the illiterate, the innumerate, especially misguided young men who turn to gangs, to use chess as a tool of rehabilitation and social improvement. So that is the background. I'm a senior lawyer. I'm Queen's Counsel. I'm past 50 now. I became Queen's Counsel when I was 40+ years old in 2013. For those who don't know, the Queen's Counsel is a senior lawyer. They don't have that designation in the United States. Some call me Johnny Cochran of Jamaica. but to put it in a chess perspective for the chess audience, there are not many 2,800 players. You only have a handful of them. A Queen's Counsel is like a 2,800 lawyer. Let's put it that way. In Jamaica, we probably have 40 of us active now. I'm one of the younger ones. We have 40 of us active, and out of thousands of lawyers. So that gives you an idea that it's an exclusive group. So I decided I had to do something about FIDE because there were rumors out there that the president would be sanctioned. I do not know that as a fact that the president is going to be sanctioned. His name still remains on a sanction list, which I saw from 2017-18 during the Trump administration. But apart from all of that, I was a little unhappy when I saw the team that the president revealed early in the day. He had the great, for whom I have so much respect, Vishwanathan Anand, five-time world champion from India, as his deputy president, which was a strategic decision. The elections are in Chennai, India. Why not get somebody who's a tiger of Madras? You know, Madras being the former name of Chennai, so to speak. Why not get somebody from Madras, Chennai? It was an obvious but a very good decision. But then he had Xu Chen from China. He had Mahir Mamadov from Azerbaijan. He had Joran from Norway, who was former president there and who supported Kasparov during his campaign in 2014. So I was very disappointed, and I said, but where are the African continent people represented? Where are the American continent people represented? And people were reaching out to me to run as president, not as a deputy, but as president. But I didn't have the time because of my schedule, and this was not something for which I had planned. And I said, I really couldn't do this right now. But at the very least, I could. Deputy is not as exacting as president, so let me give it a hand. So it wasn't about attacking Mr. Dvorkovich. We have had excellent relations, and you know, if truth be told, I think he has been a good president. You know, he has brought some changes. There are some things, including governance structures, in which we are not happy. Like the FIDE management board, minutes are not made available to the council members, such as myself. We don't understand people are being remunerated. I don't know what they're being remunerated. That is information I think the council should know. So we were not happy with something, but I have nothing personal against Mr. Dvorkovich. I only have good things to say about him. You know, I sent a nice video for his birthday in March. He turned 15 March this year. When Jamaica celebrated 50 years in 2019, before I stepped down as president, he sent us a nice commemorative video during our massive award ceremony at the Pegasus Hotel. So he has been respectful to me. He has been supportive of Jamaica. But this is not about challenging Mr. Dvorkovich or attacking him. This is about helping FIDE, because at the end of the day, when we are gone, FIDE is going to remain, and I wanted to ensure that its legacy was strengthened and it would not suffer from the fallout which has happened with Russia being basically taboo in a lot of places in the world, allegations of war crime tribunals being established, and a lot of things. So it was really about, as we say, Mr. Kouatly and I say, building FIDE, uniting FIDE and safeguarding FIDE's interests, because the FIDE Council now, which governs the International Chess Federation, is fragmented. It's divided. Some want Mr. Dvorkovich to step down. Some want him to remain. He has a lot of loyal supporters, probably the majority on the council, in all fairness. So those are, I've given you a mouthful in a short time, but those are quite, you know, the reasons I decided to run.
So what do you see as some of the main challenges? You laid out kind of the atmosphere in terms of some of the questions that are being raised. But apart from that, what are some of the other challenges for FIDE going forward? Also in terms of sponsorship, you know, attracting sponsorship. Now we have this big internet platform. Yeah. Kouatly actually mentioned in the roundtable discussion that was hosted by the Association of Chess Professionals. He mentioned Hikaru Nakamura having 1 million followers, and he said some 1,100 rated players have larger followings than professional chess players. But what are some of these challenges moving forward as far as the profile of chess is concerned?
Daim, for me, that's a very good question. There are many challenges, and a lot of the people don't know it, you know, and you're free to publish this because it's a fact. The council had to take some serious decisions, and I know those decisions must have been very painful for the president. The president is in a very invidious, a very difficult position, being so highly connected to the Kremlin and Russia, because he had to sit there in a council meeting and see his beloved Russia suspended from the World Olympiad. This is the first time I think this is happening. We are here at the Olympiad. Russia is not even here. That must be sad. The council has decided that people must live, people must practice, so they weren't going to punish players. So Russian players and players from Belarus could still play because the Belarus Federation was suspended as well, so it cannot participate in the and suspended meaning the teams, because the actual federations, as far as I know, were not suspended. It was just the official teams. So they couldn't play in team competitions such as the Olympiad. And those are tough decisions. We made a tough decision to decline sponsorships that were on the table from Gazprom and other people. Some of the names Railway Group, but that amounted to between $2 to $3 million or euros. That is a significant amount of money to give up. Plus, there are more sponsorship. There are countries in the West and companies in the West, corporate entities, which will not support FIDE because of the Russian connection of its president. That's a given. We have seen and heard things like that. So there are challenges. I have always advocated FIDE. Chess is the #1 sport, I tell people. It is not in competition with football. It should not be, I should say, with football, cricket, basketball, athletics. All sportsmen should learn chess. Chess should be like maths and English, reading and writing. And it pains me when I see certain websites with whom FIDE has partnered quite pragmatically, but FIDE should have more subscribers than anybody if it was done properly in the first place. We should be, just like you might have a well-known franchise like a KFC. What KFC does, it is the main brand, and it franchises out outlets to Jamaica, in Trinidad, in various countries who have to pay a franchise fee. That is what we should have done. Not just for World Championship matches or the candidates tournament where we can give coverage to these websites and they pay a fraction of whatever or pay X amount. We should be at the top. FIDE should have millions of followers if it was done properly. So we missed the boat with that. It's still not too late. And those are some of the things we are bringing to the table to transform the internet platform as how it's handled right now. And to have, because let's face it, if we had organized this properly, a number of these websites, yes, they are private entities and in their own right could have set up certain websites, but certain things to which they would have wanted access, they could not have had access. We could have controlled the membership of certain websites because FIDE controls ratings, and players are really nothing without ratings. When you think about it, when the first thing you see a fellow player, one of the first things they ask is, what's your rating?
What's your ELO? Yeah.
What's your ELO? Yeah. So FIDE could have implemented a structure whereby ratings would have been handled a certain way, and it would have filtered down to these groups. In that way, FIDE would have maintained control and relevance, so that right now, these websites, chess.com and others, they can bypass FIDE and do their own thing. It should not have been like that. If the International Chess Federation leaders had the necessary vision. It's a big challenge, right? Getting sponsorship. We want to transform FIDE into a proper professional organization where the people are paid properly. The president should be a full-time job. Mr. Dvorkovich, as far as I know, is not being paid. He should be paid. If he wants to give his money to charity or do whatever, that's his business. But the treasurer should be paid. The secretary should be paid. We have largely operated as an amateur organization. It's wrong. It cannot be right. These things need to be changed, and you need to set a professional structure from the bottom up. When I came into chess in Jamaica in roughly 20 years ago, and I joined the council in 2001, and I saw what they were seeking for sponsorship, I was appalled, and they laughed at me when I said, well, how could you be begging $50,000 and $100,000? You should be begging 100 million. You should be begging 50 million. You should be begging 5 million. They laughed because I told you, when you ask for such a small sum of money, people don't take it seriously, because many of these groups, they have millions put down. It's just
they give you lower.
They give you low. It's for you to convince them that you are a serious organization. And I live to see, when I demitted office in 2019, Jamaica, we were getting sponsorship, and when you look at a couple of our years, we were looking at tens of millions of dollars in income and revenue from various sources, including the government, private sponsors, membership dues. It was a total paradigm shift. And our numbers grew by thousands in terms of players, especially getting the students in with our Chess in Schools program. So these are some of the ideas I would like to bring. A lot of the things I introduced in Jamaica, I'd like to bring to FIDE on a global scale, FIDE having more resources, human and financial. So Bachar Kouatly and I share this vision. He also thinks that we should, he wants to distribute. It's not a novel idea, but he's taking it to another level. 1 million chess sets around the globe into federations, help to restructure federations. Many of these federations don't even have proper functioning constitutions in place. They don't have a proper governance structure. FIDE, when I ask many of the delegates here from African Americas and so on, when was the last time a FIDE president visited your country? Many who are in politics for 20 plus years, they say they cannot ever recall it. How can that be? The member states and the delegates are your constituents. They must see you. You can't, I understand you have nearly 200 members. You can't go everywhere in 4 years, but you can delegate. You have African continental leaders. You delegate, you do certain things through them. You connect with the governments in the country, the ministries of education and sports, with private sponsors. You help those to develop so that they don't depend on handouts. As I said proverbially, you teach them to fish. You don't just give them fish. And there's a few measly fish when election times come around. You dole out money and you try to get votes. That must stop. So those are some of the things. We bring a fresher modernistic view. And these are some of my ideas. Mr. Kouatly has his own ideas and he shares them. And so we are thinking that we have a lot to offer to FIDE going forward.
So one more thing, or maybe a couple of more things. Magnus Carlsen recently declined to play in this next match against Nepo Maniaci.
Yeah.
And so you will have the match, I believe, next April between Nepo Maniaci and Ding Liren. There's always this question about the format. In fact, I had a chance to ask this question in Dubai about the format. What do you think should happen moving forward as far as the World Championship format? Has there been any proposal from your ticket on what should happen going forward?
We discussed this question recently, and Yan, well, I am IAN, he's IAN, but in Russia they pronounce it Yan. They don't say Ian as we say in Jamaica. And Kasparov told me they pronounce his name Nepomniachtchi. We in the West say Nepomniachtchi, they call it Nepomniachtchi. Yan Nepomniachtchi and Magnus Carlsen would have been a great rematch. Even though Nepomniachtchi was never champion, so you can't speak of rematches in Kasparov, Karpov, and so on. But so we are disappointed. We understand that the format was one of the reasons Magnus didn't want to participate, apart from the fact that he just had no interest in a rematch, and he was tired of the preparation, and he was just tired of being world champion, which to many who would love to be world champion, they couldn't understand it. Even Karpov came out and criticized that how can you be bored already of being champion when you only won one match? And by the way, I predicted that 4-0. I'm one of the, I don't know how many people predicted it, and it's not with hindsight, because Magnus's father Henrik and I were communicating during the match. And I told him this was going to be a 4-0 match. After the first loss, I told him this is definitely 4-0. I didn't predict it before the match started, but after he lost, I think it was game 6, that marathon game, I said this is going to be 4-0. And I just sat there because that just took everything out of the player.
Yeah, he collapsed, and it's
collapsed.
Interesting.
Dreadful.
Because I had made my arrangements thinking that I was going to be there for the rest of the match. And so then on the day, I believe it was the day I left, he lost the game.
Yeah.
Then the next day he lost a game.
Yeah.
Then he drew a game. And then the day I got there, he lost, and that closed the match. It was very disappointing because I had traveled. Yeah, I traveled a great distance and I only got to see one game played. But certainly there's this discussion going around about changing the format and what Carlsen's exit from the cycle means for FIDE. What does it mean for the world of chess?
It's a blow to FIDE.
Strongest player is not there.
It's a blow to FIDE. It's a massive blow. Some people are cynical and say this give the Russians what they want, even though he's playing under the FIDE flag, but he's still Russia's #1 player right now. It gives the Chinese what they want. The Chinese being very close to Russia in some ways from a political standpoint, so it's easier to organize a match now. Because if that had not been the case, it might have been difficult. I still don't think so. I think, but you never know. It's a blow to FIDE. It's a blow to the council. It's a blow to the president when the #1 player in the world has decided, listen, I basically want nothing more to do with you right now, which is essentially what he has said. And I'm on a personal level, I'm disappointed. I was hoping Magnus will go on to be a 10-time champion. He's my favorite modern player. When I say modern, I mean post-2000. I'm very disappointed with his decision, but I can't speak for him. I can't criticize him. He knows better what he has to do. It's his life. He's entitled to do what he wants with it. In retrospect, he said he would still be playing chess. Who knows? He might be boasting in due course that I retired undefeated. You never know, but it's a big blow. The cycle, it's difficult. The way it's organized now with the tactical matches and then rapids and then Armageddon, if necessary, blitz. The truth is, the experts and people have been around chess much longer than I have. They have scratched their brains trying to figure out how many different ways to resolve it. The way it's set up now, there is going to be a resolution. There are some people who do not, the purists from the past, they don't like even the rapid matches to decide it. They would prefer to have even another 12 on top of the 12 classical matches and go back to the old days. So there are different opinions, but the truth is Bachar Kouatly and I have discussed this. We have addressed this in a couple of interviews, and his position is you'd want to spend some more time and look at it, but he's certainly open to examining the format and discussing it with the players, the top players, and not just the top players, but players in general, because we're all stakeholders.
Mm-hmm. One last thing, you had mentioned to me via WhatsApp, there was a situation in round 3 involving one of your players, Jaden Shaw, who was playing a match, and then something unfolded. Can you tell us about that very quickly? I know you have to run to a meeting.
Yes, I'm going to run soon. 1 second, please. My driver is calling me. I've been reminded to come down. Listen.
Okay, well, we can do this some other time. I'll just
we could do it. We could continue tomorrow.
Yeah. We can do a separate.
It's captivated the Olympiad. Because on our boat for Jaden Shaw, who's 15 years old, he was born in 2007. He's rated just 1900 plus, not even 1950, I think, but he's really a strong player. His rating doesn't reveal his true strength. He's probably easily 20, 21, 22 right now. He was out playing Grandmaster Kanep from Estonia, Paul Keres' legendary country. And he was the exchange up. I think he might even have been a pawn up. And then the Grandmaster just collapsed, fell to the floor. And people thought he might have been having a heart attack. The crowd began to gather. And it affected Jamaica. They stopped all the clocks. The medics came, nurses, and they eventually took away the gentleman in a wheelchair. We're still not certain what happened. Some say he had an epileptic fit. Some say he fainted, but it appears it was not a heart attack. We learned today that he was in hospital and was stable and was recovering nicely. And for that, we were happy. But I happened to be, Grandmaster Kouatly and I were touring the venue at the time, and we happened to be near to Jamaica's boards, which I always like to see. Our colors are so beautiful, as you know. and Jomo Peterson, the captain for the absolute team, where the incident happened, beckoned to me, and I went over, because I have no official role with the Jamaican team. I'm not head of delegation, nor I am the captain for any of the teams, nor am I the delegate. President Peter Myers, who's at his first Olympiad, actually, is the delegate. And I told him immediately that this has to be a draw. We cannot claim a victory here. It would not be sportsmanlike. I have no role. We're not forcing anybody. If it changes a rule, the captain can't really intervene with it. It has to really be left up to the player based on the new rules. And the young man, quite composed, he eventually, the arbiter called over the captain and the captains and the player said he would agree to a draw. we could have claimed a win in the
Mm-hmm.
circumstances. It would have been his
Mm-hmm.
first win. But you know, there was no pressure on the player. We just discussed it internally, and I said to them, listen, this is the honorable thing to do. This draw is worth 1 million wins. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we cannot see. I do not want Jamaica to win like this. And it has been widely acclaimed. A lot of praise coming from everyone. The chief arbiter, Florent Fred from France, was there, and more will be said. But I will talk with you, Daim. I have some flexibility between tomorrow and Wednesday. Today is our Emancipation Day in Jamaica.
Yeah,
August 1st.
yeah.
So we're celebrating it. Yeah,
That's right. You just reminded me, August 1st. I was in
commemorating. And August 6th is our Independence Day. So we're hoping for good things, because August and the night of August 6th is well into the day in August 7 election day in Chennai. So let's see what happens. But my brother, it's good to see you. Thank you for
good
the
to see you. We'll catch up.
And thank you. And I'm wishing all the best to you, your family, and the Trust Drum viewers. Continue to keep up the great work. We'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you.